Hello and welcome back to my craft room. Well, it is the middle of February, it's the 18th of February actually as we speak. The months are whizzing by again. I've decided I want to do one more project today with my Craft of the Month box from Stitch Kit, because I've only just noticed this morning that they've got the March pre-order Craft of the Month box are now available on their website. So this month the focus was embroidery, and I've had a blast with this box already. I've made this. So the plain calico tote came in the box, and I boxed the bottom to make it stand up and be more sort of roomy and useful, and embroidered both sides using the supplies in the box. I also added a colourful lining which has got some pockets in as well. I've also made this pouch out of some recycled denim, and that's lined, it's got magnetic clasp and it's lined with pockets with that same floral fabric that I've got inside the big bag. I'm going to be doing these as a giveaway for next month's live stream as well. Thought it'd be nice to do that if I can bear to part with them. Yeah, so that's just useful. It's got, again, this motif came out of the book. I'll show you the book in a sec. So actually, I don't know how well you can see it there. It says measure twice, cut once. Very good mantra that is. I could go on and on with this box. It just, like, there are just so many ideas. It's really got me thinking, and I just love the idea of going back to, like, years ago it used to be a thing that people would add embroidery to household items and little gifts and things, hankies even, and it's just such a sweet thing to do, and it's really enjoyable and doesn't actually take that long, and it just makes something completely yours. And I love it. I've really enjoyed it. But I've got other things I've got to be getting on with as well, and before I know it, the next box will be here. So I'm going to do one more project, something a bit different today. So here's what I've still got left from the box. I've still got this container came in the box, along with the plastic bobbins. This little bobbin winder, I've never used one of these before. It was really fun. You put it on there and you wind all because these all came in skeins, and you wind them onto the bobbins, which is really fun. It worked really well. There's this little needle minder, which has been really useful, though I still managed to lose a needle. Got 5. It came with 5. I've got 4 left at the moment, so it's nice that it all fits in there as well. There were 20 skeins of embroidery thread. I think I've completely used 1, but you can see I've still got quite a lot left. Plenty to, more than enough to do what I want to do today. We also got these little snips in the kit, and the chalk marker, this fun little keyring, or you could use it as a scissor keeper. The needles came with a magnetic holder. There was the embroidery hoop, the calico tote that I've shown you, and this book of gorgeous designs by designer Anila Hurry. Now, what I'm going to do today is something a bit different. You can use all of these designs again and again, and until they eventually wear out. But a couple of people mentioned to me that you can get an embroidery pen, an embroidery transfer pen or pencil, and you can draw over the design, so then you can use it again and again, like indefinitely, which I thought was brilliant. So quite a few of these designs, like these ones I've already used, would work for what I'm going to do today, but I might try something completely different. And my idea is, I've got this little pack of cards, just 4 blank cards that came in an artful box actually, and I never got around to using. So I'm going to make some little stitched squares that I can turn into greetings cards. I'll probably stamp a greeting underneath, but I want like a stitched square to go here as the focal point of my card. So I've got 4 there. I've got this piece of linen. This came in a pack I got from B Henderson. So B is in our Discord community. She custom makes curtains and soft furnishings, and she has a lot of really nice top quality kind of designer fabrics and stuff, and she will basically gives away the offcuts like this for the price of the postage to the UK. It's too expensive to post anywhere else, but yeah, so if you are interested and you're in the Discord group, look for, I think she's B Hen in there. So anyway, this is a little piece of kind of, I don't know if it is linen, but it certainly feels like linen. I thought it would be quite nice to embroider on. I don't know how well the embroidery transfers will come out in this. They might miss a little bit because of the texture of it. I don't know, but it'll be good enough to stitch on. And so I've stitched on the calico, I've stitched on denim, which is a bit harder work on my fingers, and now I'm going to try stitching on this. So I need to pull out a couple of likely, well, 4. I can do 4 designs. Even the small ones that I've used on the bag, like the scissors and things like that, would work for this too. So those up there. I'm going to get the cut out ones out of the way. Yeah, see, that would be quite nice for a stitchy friend. There's all the letters there as well. The bee's quite cute. I like the cat. Love that. Is that fox one there? Oh, it's a bunny a bit like the one Christine was using. Let's remember that's there because I want to do that project. I think Christine gave some free templates actually. Maybe a little bit bigger than I want. Oh, he's a cute bunny too. These are gorgeous. I was very taken with the ones that Wendy did. She ordered one of these boxes. Let me just show you that. I'm just flicking through our live stream follow along room in Discord because Wendy was showing what she'd done with her box during last Wednesday's Whip and Waffle. Some lovely things in here. Here we go. This is one. I think this was her first piece that she did. How amazing is that? And I'm just thinking I could do something quite similar with some of these designs. But maybe they're too big for my card. I love how she's done that. Done this as well. Look. Absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely love that. Yeah, I could do something very kind of similar effect with this, but it's too big for the card. It's not going to work for that. Right, I finished dithering. I've got 5 here, so I'm still kind of dithering. Quite fancy the fox. Quite fancy doing this on because I just really think those are cute. And I like that one. I like that one. And I like this one. I've used him to add into the embroidery hoop in that design because I preferred it to the design that was in there. So I just did that on a separate piece and stitched it in. I did quite enjoy doing him, and I could add colour with Inktense, as I say, this time. That would be quite fun. It would be a nice one to do that with. This one I quite fancy filling in totally with stitch. This one I fancy having a go at appliquing some cotton print to it. So I would iron it onto this and onto the cotton print and cut it out and apply it. And this one I might do a bit of colouring with Inktense, at least of part of the design. So there's a few different things to try there, so I might end up making 5 cards, or one might not work. Let's see. So assuming this is a linen, because I think it is, I need to get my iron pretty hot. I use this little dinky quilted bear set, which is quite a reasonable price actually. It came with the mat and this thing, and a like travelling holder thing, and all this. Yeah, it's quite good. It wasn't a bad price. And it's got like a gauze thing you can put over for delicate fabrics as well. So you put these face down and you warm up the fabric first. And I'm thinking I'm going to give plenty of room to be able to put it into my hoop as well. Although I could get a smaller hoop out for some of these actually if I need to. I'm going to give it plenty of room at the moment. It might be a little bit wasteful, but if I end up with little offcuts, they'll all get used anyway. You know, I use tiny little pieces of this kind of thing. So first thing I'm doing is warming up the fabric. These little lines warm up so fast. Transfer face down, and then you've got to just press. You don't move around or you might smudge the image. And they say to press for, what is it? More seconds than I actually did. 12 to 15 seconds. But I did it for a bit less because it didn't really need to be that much. That means I thought I could get more uses out of it as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to look now and see if that's transferred. See, that's plenty, isn't it? Plenty. I'm going to go 5 seconds this time. And apparently this stuff fades with each wash but doesn't necessarily disappear completely, so I need to bear in mind that I want to cover whatever stitches I do. I want to cover these lines, which is another reason for not having it too dark like that, really. So it said, yeah, it said heat this up for 4 to 5 seconds. I've got to do it again now. I'm yakking on so long. Yammering, as I was told the other day. Okay, let's do you now. Probably don't need to leave so much space between them, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can see an imprint of the bust there. I hope that's not going to come out as well. Yep, that's fine. And I need to do this on my print piece as well. So I've got a bag of like scraps here. I was thinking it'd be quite fun to use. Oh, look, this is already cut in a heart shape, so it seems a bit of a waste, but I just quite fancy that as part of the chicken, so I'm going to do it. I moved it there. They did warn you not to do that. It's okay. I'll be able to cover any of that with the stitching. That's fine. That's fine. I can work around that. And then what I'm going to do is use some of these scraps to like make a little kind of frame for them as well. So it won't just be this on the plain card. It'll have a little. It'll be kind of matted, layered onto a piece of colourful fabric. That's my plan. I'm going to cut this little chicken out. Because the line has come out quite heavy there, I'm going to cut just sort of towards the inside of it. I will be stitching over it anyway, but with this one I'm going to add a bit of colour with Inktense first. So to do this, I'm going to use, I don't get expensive palettes, I use these chopping boards. I got these 2 for $5 or something in a local supermarket. You sometimes even find them in a pound shop. The half size ones are ideal actually, and they're good because they've got this kind of texture. So all you have to do with, and it works with watercolour pencils as well, is just scribble away like that. I'm going to do some of this baked earth as well. So Inktense, they kind of work like watercolours in a way, but unlike watercolours, once you've water activated them, they're permanent. And then to be on the safe side, I heat set them as well. And even when you're putting things through the washing machine, it's I've only used them on arty things that don't tend to get what, but I've water tested them, put it that way. They're brilliant. There's a huge range of colours, and then once you activate them, the colours become really, really vibrant. It does also work with watercolour pencils, but of course they're not going to have that permanence. So once you spritz them with water like that and get a brush, you've got a little pool of paint there. So I'm going to just paint this on there. If you want to do something that's really, really accurate, you can use, instead of using water, you can scribble onto the fabric and use like aloe vera hand gel to activate it instead of water, because it's less likely to spread then. But what I'm going to do is sort of keep inside the lines and hope they don't go too far out. I'm just going to allow for a bit of spreadage. I probably shouldn't be doing that on my ironing board. Ironing mat, actually, thinking about it. Let's move that. I think this will work okay. If it doesn't, it's only a little bit of fabric. You know, I can iron on another one. So yeah, I'm not going up to the edges, I'm just allowing for it to bleed out a bit. I'm not worrying about where the glasses are and stuff, because those details will go in with the stitching. Now I've seen Christine of Create and Craft with Christine experimenting recently with different ways of colouring in stamped images on fabric, and she was trying with all sorts of things, normal coloured pencils, different kinds of markers, try whatever you've got, see what works, especially when it's something like a slow stitching project where it's not, you know, it's not going to go through the wash. It's not going to matter whether it's permanent through the wash or not. It will behave differently on different types of fabric, so test out on whatever you've got. This is quite a heavy kind of linen type fabric, so that will be different from if you were using a flimsy kind of polycotton or something, and get a completely different sort of result. And you can see now that has gone a little bit outside, but I think I'm going to be able to like sort that out with the stitching, so I'm not going to worry about it. So I've got the opportunity to use a few different stitches here, and what I'm going to do is just show it a little snippet of each of the stitches, and then I'll cut these pieces out and layer them up and put them onto the card, because I don't want to make the video stupidly long. It's more about giving you the ideas really, and just a little glimpse at some of the stitches, just for people who are just starting out and would like to know about the basic stitches. I'm going to leave these to dry out a little bit more. I can probably start on this one though. Let's start on this one. I've got some of this sort of golden yellow colour in my needle. I've taken 2 strands of it, so it's stranded cotton in this kit. Mostly I use 2 strands. And to make the knot to start off with, I'm just holding the end of the thread against the needle like that. Take that in my right hand, wrap it around, say 3 times to make a nice knot. Now I've swapped over to my left hand, take hold of that needle and just pull that through. And that makes a little knot. So let's try and do this the tidy way. So I'm gonna go in a little distance from where I'm starting my line, and then I'm going to bring my needle up where I want the line to start, and I'm going to be going towards the outside of this line because I've let that colour bleed a tiny bit. I want to make sure I cover the line as well, so and I'll bring it up there. Now for this one I'm just going to outline this pot because I've coloured it in already. I'm just going to outline it with a back stitch, and then I'm going to whip the back stitch. I've shown that before, but to start off I'm just going to take a couple of small stitches just to anchor the thread. So making sure I'm along the line, so I know these little stitches are going to get covered. Really, really tiny stitches you can barely see. And now coming up at the start of the line. And I'm just going to do that back stitch, so I'm going down. I'm actually making it so my stitch length is half the distance between the top of the pot and that ridge of the pot. I'm going to make that my stitch length, just for easiness. So as it's a back stitch, I'm now leaving a gap and coming forward a little way, and now I'm going back in there. And now I'm jumping forward again. Actually no, I'm not going to go down this line, I'm going to go around this ridge first. Try and keep the stitch length about the same, so I'm going along there and going back to cover the gap. So I'm going in there, hope you can see that. Coming up there. I'm going to try and timestamp all this when I edit it, so if you know all these stitches already and you don't want to sit and watch this, you can skip through to the next bit really easy. Trying to even out my stitch length. I want my stitches to end neatly at the other side of the pot. So what I will do is, once I've gone all the way around the outline of the pot like that, I will go back and whip the stitch. So what I'll do is come back up at the beginning of the line. I'll do this little bit and then I'll go ahead and do the rest of the pot off camera. So I'll come out at the beginning of the line like that, and now I'm just going to wrap this thread around the stitches I've already done. So I'm going back through here. Sometimes it helps use the blunt end of the needle to do this bit, because you don't want to go through the fabric, you just want to go underneath the stitch you've done before. And I'm going to go consistently right to left every time. Don't matter which direction you go, as long as you do it the same every time. And all that's doing is thickening up the line and kind of making it look bolder and less like a row of stitches, more like a solid line. So the difference there between the bit that I've done and the bit that I haven't done. So I'm going to do that all the way around this pot, and then I'll be back. I finished going all around my flower pot there. It looks kind of like a thimble turned upside down now, which is quite appropriate actually. And I started working on the leaf now. Now I haven't got any of the gorgeous variegated green left. I used all of that up. So I have actually used two of these. I've used all of the deep pink and all of the variegated green. But I have got three kind of shades of green that I can use in here. A minute. So there's these two, which I think I'm going to go with. And this one is kind of a yellow, but it is kind of green as well. It would fit in as a shade of green. So what I'm going to do is do the tops of these leaves in the lighter green and then go to the darker green at the bottom. That's what I'm planning. I did the same thing with taking them, starting with the knot off to the side and coming up and doing a couple of small anchor stitches. And then of course what I forgot to mention is that once you've stitched over them a couple of times, you can then safely snip that off. And so on the back you haven't got so I can snip that right close now, and you haven't got a whole lot of extra mess there like I would usually have. So you look at some of those linens that they do, like, you know, from the sort of early part of last century, and it looks almost as good on the back as it does on the front. But if you really try, you can do that, and it's quite an interesting challenge to me to have a go at keeping a slightly tidier backside. Okay, so to do this leaf thing, I've come up at the top of the leaf that I want to do, and I'm going to put my needle down along this, imagining a centre line about sort of halfway down the leaf, something like that. And I'm going to come up again just very slightly to the left of where I first came out, and go down very slightly below where I went down the first time. And now I'm going up to the right, back down the same hole. I don't think I'm doing this stitch properly but it works this way for me. So I just keep going from left to right and just gradually working further and further down at the bottom of the stitch, but very gradually. And it starts to form this line down the centre of the leaf, which is quite cute. You can see I've gone down there just very, so just one thread further down than the previous time. And once I think I've gone down far enough for the lighter part of the leaf, I'll fasten off at the back and bring in the darker green to finish the leaf off. You can see where that's going, so I'm going to carry on and finish the rest of the leaves, add the darker bit in, just continuing in exactly the same way. I'm going to carry on and finish those, and then the next step is going to be doing my little frame. I'll come back and show you how I'm going to do that. I just wanted to mention, in case I forgot earlier on, don't forget that if you wanted to order this month's Craft of the Month box, so the February 2025 Craft of the Month box from Stitch Kit, it's the Arty Farty Annie's Craft of the Month box. It was £50, but you can get a discount of 10% if you use this code. So this is only available to the 28th of February. I think you'll still be able to get the box, but you won't be able to use the discount after that. But if you like this kind of thing but you don't want to spend that much, you can instead order a mystery box, a one-off mystery box. Choose the embroidery option. I think it's the cross-stitch and embroidery option. But once you've ordered, you can then fill in the questionnaire to tell them your preferences, and if you want embroidery rather than cross-stitch or vice versa, you can tell them that. The boxes, each box is custom made for the individual person. It's completely bespoke. Your box is completely made for you. So if you order a one-off mystery box, you can choose your price point from £25 upwards. They'll just adjust the contents accordingly. You can also use this discount code against a monthly subscription box as well. And again, there's different price points. I think it's £25 or £45 for a monthly subscription box, if I remember right. But anyway, if you've got any questions, just email them. They're really, either Rachel or Kirsty will get back to you, and they're really helpful. And if you wanted to pre-order the March box, it's a gamble. You don't know what it's going to be any more than I do, but if you want to enjoy the surprise along with me and then craft along with me, you'd get your box within a couple of days at the beginning of the month, is what they're saying. You can get a discount on that as well, a 10% discount, and for that you have to put pre-order 10. And again, you'll be asked to fill in a questionnaire that tells them what your preferences are for colour and all sorts of other options. No idea what's going to be though. Slightly excited, slightly nervous. Okay, right, back in a minute when I'm on to the next. Finished adding into that one. That's it. I'm going to keep it that simple. Obviously I need to do the frame, but that's all I'm going to do for the plant. Snip that thread off, and then to fasten off at the back, I just go back through a nearby stitch again, or even just take a tiny bit of the fabric, and I just make sure that my needle goes back through the loop. I might even go through it a couple of times, so it just creates a little knot. That's how I do it anyway. It's the same. I don't know if any of this is correct, but it works for me. I have to say, I'm all for a messy backside usually, but I'm quite enjoying, for a change, this challenge of seeing how tidy I can make my backsides. That's pretty good. For this bit, I'm going to do just a whipped chain stitch, I think, because I want it to look a bit fatter than these lines, and I'll just do a couple of, perhaps 3 or 4 stitches across there for that bit. So that's pretty simple. For the hoop, I'm going to do a chain stitch and then do a blanket stitch over the top of it. So I'll show a bit of both of those, and then you'll have seen all the stitches I'm going to use for this. I always end up with my threads all over the place while I'm actually working, but I do take the time afterwards to go back through, lay out all the ones I've partly used like this. I lay them all together, and then I'll fold them in half and I'll twist them like this. Take the half, let them twist back round each other, and you just get that nice little neat. And I do take the time to do that and sort these back in afterwards, because it's nicer when you come back to it, put it that way. Now last time I didn't bother, I finished in a hurry and I got that. So 2 strands again, and I'm going to do a chain stitch. So to do a chain stitch, in case you haven't done it before, you can work it right to left or left to right. I'm going to go right to left as it's easier because I'm right-handed, but you can actually work it upwards or downwards as well. So I've come out where I want to start. I've taken my thread off in the direction I'm working in and looped it back, so I've got a kind of a loop, and now I'm going back in very, very close to where I came out, almost in the same hole, and then I'm just bringing the needle up there, taking note of the length of that because I want to make this reasonably even. And then I'm pulling my needle through, making sure the thread is coming out over the top of that loop. I'm putting it just sort of firmly enough to sort of set it into place, but not so firmly that it's wrinkling up the fabric. And now I'm going back in, and that's made my first little link of the chain. And now I'm going back in very, very close to where I came out, or even in the same hole. Does it matter? I'm going to deliberately go in the same hole this time and see if it matters. Got my loop, bring my needle up again, about the same distance that I did last time to try and keep the stitches a reasonably even shape, and bringing the needle up through that loop. I've got a knot at the back. Sometimes you'll just get a little knot at the back like that, don't worry. Just put your needle in the loop, this is what I find works, and pull on one or the other of the ends until the knot releases itself. That's it. And I can just pull. Okay. Let's go back to where we were. You're not really going to see these chain stitches because I'm going to be doing a blanket stitch over the top of them. This is just going to give a little bit of a body to it. Sometimes I do a chain stitch and do a satin stitch over the top of it. It just sort of pads it out a little bit. I've made that one a little bit too short. It's not crucial, don't matter, it's not going to show. Okay, so I'm going to work my way all the way around the ring like that, and then I'll be back. I've done my circle of chain stitch. I realised I didn't do my 2 anchoring stitches after when I started my line of chain, but I'm hoping by the time I've blanket stitched over the top and everything, that will be holding it into place. So I'm just going to hope for the best there. So I've come to the end of my ring of chain stitches, and I'm just going to go down into that next link there to finish that off. And I'm going to use the same colour, so I'll just come back up again, and I'm going to do my blanket stitch now over the top of this. So I want to start my blanket stitch on the outside edge, so I'm going to follow around the outside ring. So to do my blanket stitch, I'm going to put my needle down on the inner ring where I want the bottom of the stitch to be, and then bring it up a little way further along on the outer edge again, making sure that the thread is going behind the needle. So then when I pull it through, that thread is coming out over the top of the loop again, through the loop and over the top of it. And now I'm moving along a little way. You can space these out, you can do all sorts of variations, you can do long and short, all kinds of things with blanket stitch, but I just want a plain, fairly close one here. So yeah, I'm just not leaving much space at all between. Almost like as if I was doing a buttonhole, but not quite as close as that. Back on the outer edge again, and making sure that thread is going behind the needle. So I'm catching the loop as I pull it through. So I want to keep this as sort of even as I can, because I want to give the effect of that hoop. And they will be fairly close together. I may even go around it again, but I think that's going to be enough. Okay, that's that one finished. I'm quite happy with that. And now I'm going to move on to the frocks. And the threads that I've got don't really match the colour that I've used there. I'm going to use a mixture of all of these, I think, and just do kind of thread painting into them. So I'm going to start off with 2 strands of this just to sort of outline, but I think I might end up going into 1 strand for this and doing some thread painting with it. I'll wait and see. I'm very proud that that is the back of my work. That's about the neatest backside I've ever had. I'm going to kind of go around the outline of the transfer here, but obviously I've managed to bleed my colour over the edges, but I'm going to do lots of little short stitches in the different colours to work into that. I think with this orange I'm going to, and it's a variegated orange, which I think is going to look quite good. That golden yellow colour is variegated too, so I think that's nice. And there might be some odd bits of brown in, but the brown maybe will be a single strand. I haven't decided, I'm going to have to work it out as I go along. So I think for this first one I'm going to do, let's try, I think it's called a stem stitch, which is quite good for following a fairly fine curved line. Do you know what, I'm going to take it out and I'm going to do 1 strand I've just changed my mind about that. It's too chunky. I'm going to do this. I'm fairly certain it's called a stem stitch. So I make a straight stitch like that, and then come up just to one side of it. And I need to make sure I keep going to the same side of the stitch. I need to keep making the stitch lengths the same, so I'm going back to about halfway along the stitch before. It's kind of like making a back stitch backwards in reverse, do you know what I mean? Back up to halfway. That one wasn't very tidy. It's not going to matter if it's not super tidy with this, because yeah, you can see I've got too much of a gap there, because I'm going to be putting lots of extra sort of thread stitching in. But having said that, that's going to annoy me. I'm going to take it out. One of the things this box has been about for me is actually trying what I call proper embroidery, which is not something I usually do. I'm more of a slow stitcher than an embroiderer, but it's been quite fun to try and be just a little bit more disciplined about it. And also it's got me to thinking of different ways to use a little bit of embroidery just to add my own personal touch to recycle projects and things that I love to do, work it into the other crafts that I enjoy, you know. I like it when different types of hobbies that you enjoy all come together. I think it's going to take a little bit of practice, and I need to get my nose right over the stitch to get it really neat. But you can see it's going to follow that curved line quite nicely. And although that's only one single strand of thread, it's kind of doubling itself up anyway, which is why it looked too chunky before. And then once I've got the outline all covered, I'm going to go in with the more of this colour and some of this colour and possibly some of the brown as well, just in single strands, and just do short straight stitches in the direction that the fur would grow, to give an idea of that of the fox's coat. And then I haven't got any white in this kit. I could dig some white, I've got loads of white, but I think I'm going to try and stick to what's in the kit, and I think this will look quite pretty instead of where it would be white. I think that's going to look really nice. So this is going to get stupid long if I show you all of that, so I'm going to skip ahead now to where my fox is done, and then I've just got one more that I want to actually show you a little bit of the doing of, which is where I'm going to try applying this piece that where I transferred the design separately onto this print, because that's going to be a slightly different process. And then when I've got them all done and I'm ready to turn them into cards and layer them up with the other fabrics, then I'll come back and show you the rest of that. I have started on the little fox there, you can see. I've done all the outline in that, well, my bungled attempt at stem stitch, but as you can see, where I'm going to be doing the little straight stitches in all the different colours over the top, that's going to sort of distract from those lines anyway. It's not going to be too obvious, so I will keep working through. I'll use both the shades of variegated orange and golden yellow down there, and then some of the brown probably in the darker areas, and then I'll do the same with that very pale pink colour for the tip of the tail and the little bit underneath his nose. I'll do a French knot for the eye and probably for the nose, so you can kind of see where that's going. So I'll quickly show you this, what I'm going to do here, because then I can take this whole lot down this evening and finish this off camera and come back and finish off the cards with you tomorrow. Just using a little bit of the embroidery thread to just tack this down for a minute. I think it would be a good opportunity to use some of this gorgeous variegated thread with, it's got like a deep almost burgundy going into a rose pink and then going into a green. I think that's lovely, and I think I'm going to use that for this little chicken. I'm going to stitch all the way around first, just with a small straight stitch, and then I'll do a blanket stitch over the top of it. The only other stitch that I'm going to do that I haven't done already, I think I'll do the wings with a what do you call it? Y stitch. Beginning of that line that I want to stitch along. And I'm taking a stitch down and then going back up and coming out level with and to the left of where I first came out. And then going up, going back down again, level with and to the right of where I first came out. And now I'm coming up at the bottom of that first stitch, making sure this loop is going to be underneath the thread. So when I pull it through, it catches like that. That would be a nice way to do those little feet too, wouldn't it? You can really play about with all different proportions of this stitch. Back down to the right again. Oh, and what I forgot to do there was bring my needle up there and make sure it goes over the top. There we go. So I was going to do this in the other direction to make it look more like feathers, but actually I think it looks okay like that. Let's just leave it like that. Such a pretty thread, the colours in it. So this time I'm going to remember to come up again at the bottom of that downward stitch there. And make sure my needle comes up through that loop before I put it through. There we go. So I'm going to do another couple of lines of that there for my wings. It will turn green in a minute because of the variegation. I'll do a blanket stitch all the way around and just a satin stitch for the comb. And you can see the little yellow beak. You can see it on the print fabric, and you can also see it on the just about on the print underneath there. I'll do that in the yellow. I'm going to take all this downstairs because I think if I sat and did all of this with you, this video would be hours, and it will be literally hours and hours long. I'm going to do that tonight. I'll see you in the morning, bright and early, to finish these off. I don't believe it. I've just been talking away to myself, forgot to press record. Oh, now I'm going to have to remember everything I've just said to you. So I had this on the hook. Oh dear, start again. Right, okay. I'll rewind. I've just finished doing the Wednesday live stream, the whip and waffle, and I've come straight into doing this, and I've obviously not doing a great job of it. So I just had this in the hoop. I've just taken it out. I was working on this during the Wednesday live, and what I was explaining was that I get very distracted by chatting and having a laugh generally. We had such a laugh today. My niece Georgia was on and completely embarrassed herself. She will never live it down, but we all enjoyed it. Anyway, so I started doing the embroidery on this pair of scissors, but didn't quite finish it because I got distracted. So I've just done a chain stitch there and whipped it to give that sort of corded effect. This was a whole lot of chain stitches, single chain stitches, one over the other, to make that the top part of the tassel, then a couple of straight stitches across, and then here I've just done a back stitch with 2 strands and whipped it to start creating the fringes of the tassel. And I've done some chain stitch and back stitch around there, and then I'm going to satin stitch over the top with a different shade of pink. And then this bit I'm going to use we did a vote during the live, we did a little poll, and I think to help me decide about these colours and things, in the end what I'm going to go for is a single strand of this lovely variegated pink and green to do the blades of the scissors. But I just wanted to get this set of cards finished up now so I can wind this video up. Very chuffed with this one, especially because the back is almost as neat as the front. So unusual for me. And this was the little fox which I've just cut out and started to fray out the edges. And just as I went to say, right, I'm going to carry on cutting these out and fraying all the edges, went to click stop recording and then realised I'd never pressed start. Excellent job. So this is a little fox that I showed you. I've added to him quite a bit. That's partly why I didn't get all the rest done, because I got carried away with this one. So I just did lots and lots of straight stitches. I used a variety of colours. I had a lighter, the variegated, let me show you. yellowy orange thread, and the darker orangey pink one. Where's that gone? Oh, I've ended up leaving that downstairs. I know I haven't used it all. Oh no, here it is. Yeah. So I use some of that as well, and some of the brown too, just in the darker areas. And I just laid them one over the other, sometimes using just one strand of thread, and sometimes using 4 strands to get a sort of difference in textures. And then I added a chain stitch sort of straight line along here to indicate ground that he's standing on, and did some foliage with some of the green threads, and that was partly to cover where I'd sort of bled over the lines. Yes, I'm quite happy with that now, and I'm just cutting them into squares and fraying out the edges, and then my plan is I'll do a line of stitching around here, or perhaps 2 lines, and then put it onto a coordinating backing piece of fabric. I might cut this down even more actually, because I want more of the fabric to show. And then yeah, I'll probably put it on the backing fabric first, and then do a decorative stitch over the top. Not anything fancy, just a straight stitch in a coordinating colour, and then that will go onto my card. I think it needs to go a good deal smaller, this one actually. The other thing I was saying was that it was very exciting because Rachel from Stitch Kit joined us at the live, because they have their craft group there on a Wednesdays, so they sit and watch us, which I think is lovely. Rachel was saying she's already sent my March box off today, so I'm really excited about that. And she's also sent me an email with a document in with the details, but it's all marked "do not open until you've opened the box." So I'm very excited now. So yeah, what I'm going to do now is cut these down into the smallest squares that they'll go, fray out all the edges, pick out 3 little pieces of coordinating prints that will go behind each one, so that I can finish up 3 of these cards and get this video out, and then I'll do the other 2 this evening. So I'll go back to where I was. I'll see you in a minute. Right, it's the next morning again. I did a bit more last night, and I've managed to finish all 5 of my little pieces, and I've cut round the calico and torn a little scrap of print to go behind them, like that, onto my card. So here's my cat. That was just pretty much straight stitches all around there, except for the glasses where I did a chain stitch and then whipped it a couple of times to really add some dimension to it. So you can sort of see there, and a bit of kind of satin stitch for the nose. Yeah, French dots for the eyes, French knots, I always say dots. So that was all ready to go. This one we've seen already, so I've picked out what I think is quite a cute piece of fabric to go behind it. Mr. Fox, I'm going to put on this lovely green and gold print. I think that brings that out nicely. Mrs. Chicken. Now, I didn't have a pink piece in the pile of scraps I took downstairs with me that was big enough. So what I've done is cut these 2 smaller scraps into 2, and I'm going to hide the joins behind where the chicken is. It's a little trick I used to use in scrapbooking years ago to make the expensive scrapbooking paper go further, and then maybe even a layer of the green as well. So this will be quite a big piece, this one. So we'll see how that goes. Or I could just end up just using this, just like that would also be quite cute. I'll do the others first and see how I feel. But yeah, I think the pink is nice to bring out that pink of the chicken, and then I'll perhaps use a green thread to do the stitching. So that's my plan at the minute with her. I saved this one to do with you so I can show you how I've been doing it. It's nothing complicated though. I'm sure you don't need me to show you that really, but oh look, I haven't actually quite finished that. Look, I've still got some stitching there to do. Well anyway, let's just look, I've got the last 3 lengths of my tassel to do. So I've just done lots of kind of long and short stitches here with 2 strands of thread in that variegated pink and green colour. I love how that comes out. and this was just chain stitch, then back stitch around the outside, which I whipped. I think it gives quite an interesting effect, and I think I've already gone through the rest of it as well. So let's just cut this. I want to cut the kind of, well, being a bit wasteful with that, I want to cut quite a small square because those cards aren't huge. What I'm finding is that this fabric frays very easily in one direction, probably this one, yeah, but isn't so keen on fraying in the other direction, so I'm having to work a little bit harder to fray it, but it will. As I say, all of these are perfect for stitching labels into my vintage Stittionary when I get back to that, or into my tag book, so I'll embroider someone's name on there and then stitch it in like a label, that kind of thing, so none of these will get wasted. This sort of fabric is so lovely for adding a bit of texture into a slow stitching piece. Okay, these will go in the aughts pile. And out of these fabrics that I've got here, I'm thinking this one might work nicely. This is a bundle of scraps that somebody sent me. I think this is probably going to be a face mask. That takes us back now, doesn't it, to COVID days? So I could do chain stitching around here, or Y stitching, or whatever, but or blanket stitch. But I'm just going to go with a plain old running stitch here. I think this will just be a nice little finishing touch. And also, you know me, any excuse to do a bit of plain stitching, and I'm there. Yeah, so just, yeah. So because I've got a reasonably long needle, I'm just taking a few stitches at a time before I pull it through, and then just smoothing it out like that. There's a word for that when you do sashiko. There's a word for this where you straighten it out to kind of release any tension in the stitching so that it lies smooth. I've forgotten what it is. It's a Japanese word, so that's why I've forgotten it. I could just as well do a back stitch instead and then whip it with the contrast. That could be quite cute as well, all sorts of things, but I just quite like the look of this, just plain. I think it does need the darker brown as well to balance this out, but yeah. So I'm going to work my way around, do all of them like that, and then I'll be back to finally assemble the cards. This video is still going to be too long, but you know, can't help myself, can I? I've finished the stitching now, and I'm ready to assemble these cards. So let's show you what I've done. So this one I've just done 3 rows. I've picked up 3 of the colours that I've used in the stitching and that kind of coordinate with that fabric, that print that I've chosen. Same idea, 3 rows of stitching again. Pretty quick to do, really enjoy doing it, so yeah. I think it sets them all off nicely now. And this one I just did 2 rows of stitching around the outside, but I did an extra one inside the hoop as well. So this one I'm just going to very simply mount it on one of those cards out of that set. The others have turned out a little bit big to work with these cards, so I went hunting for some other sizes and shapes of cards. But I think this one will fit nicely on here and doesn't need any extra. It'll just, I could easily, I will leave it blank inside and outside for now, but I could easily stamp a sentiment on here or inside when I send this off, once I know who it's for and what it's for. Double-sided tape here. This will be for sticking card to card, but for sticking fabric to card I'm going to use some of this high-tack tape, this red tape. So I think it's going to be easier to get the backing off the tape if I put it on the card rather than the fabric, so I'm just going to mark out roughly where I want my tape to go. Roughly there and there. A couple of pieces will be enough. and then whoever gets the card, if they want to, they can reasonably easy pull it off. It shouldn't come off too easily, but if they give it a tug, it would come off the card, and then they could turn it into a little framed picture, or stitch it into a slow stitching book or quilt or something like that if they wanted to. So needless to say, these cards won't be going to people who I think might just throw it in the recycling. I'd be heartbroken. So when you're using these kind of tapes, it really helps to burnish them down. I'm using my paper folder here, but it really helps to do that before you try getting the backing off. There we go, that'll be enough just to hold it in place. It's pretty strong, this stuff. So now I'm going to just carefully place it. Can't get my head over it because you don't want to look at the back of my head, but if I look in the camera, hopefully I can get that reasonably straight on. That's okay. If it's a little bit rustic, I don't mind. There we go. Press that down where I know the tape is. There we go. So that's my first one. And as I say, there's room to stamp a little sentiment there before I send the card out if I want to. I decided that these have come out quite square and really too big to look right on those on that card, so I dug out some square cards, and this one I'm just going to put straight on the card. I think it's enough by itself, so I'm going to do the same thing again with the red tape. Let's make sure I get that opening the right way. Okay, and I'm just going to place this centrally this time. So that's that one done, and with this one I would just stamp the sentiment on the inside. Okay, so with these I'm going to get a little bit more fancy. It's got a slightly larger square card. Just what I happened to pick up, doesn't have to be, because obviously it's way too big. Now I could just put it in the middle like that and that's fine. I don't mind that at all, or this one. But I thought I'd go a bit fancy because I've got some of this gorgeous metallic card. And I thought I'd use this. So what I'm going to do is I've cut this piece of metallic card a bit smaller than the size of the blank card, and then I've cut a piece of white, plain white card a little bit smaller again. So just like that. So I'm going to lay them up like this, and then I'll put the Mr. Fox in the middle, and that green of that metallic card will really set that off. I think that'd be nice. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm not going to peel it all the way off in one go. I'm going to peel it just a little way down and then fold it back on itself like that. And the reason I've done that rather than just peel it all off is that it just gives me a little bit of wiggle room so I can get it placed accurately. So I can make sure that I've got that lined up nicely and everything looks straight. So I can now carefully pull the rest away. If I'd have had peeled all of that backing paper off straight away, it would have grabbed the minute it touched the card, and if I was a bit off, I wouldn't have been able to move it. So that's a handy little tip. So that's that layer. Then I'm going to do the same with this layer, and then I'll use the red tape to adhere my fox in the middle. So I'm going to do that one that way, and then with this one I'm going to do the same, but I've picked up the bright magenta colour because I thought that will set it off, and in this case I've left a wider border around. And here we go, they're all done. So I hope you enjoyed that. Maybe gave you some ideas for how to create little cards yourself out of little pieces of stitchery. I do think it's a nice idea to send someone a card that's kind of a little gift as well in itself. That's it from me today, except to say, as always, a huge thank you to my lovely channel members, my founding fartists. They will be scrolling up here as we speak. There are 37 channel members now, and I really appreciate every single one of you. Thank you so much. I've been hatching some plans for some new little perks coming very soon for you guys, so watch out for those. And also I just want to say that please don't worry about it if you can't or don't want to join it. It's not a problem at all. If you do want to join, there's a button down here somewhere that says join. Click on that, it'll tell you all about it. If you don't, please don't worry about it. The Discord community and the Facebook group are going to stay just as they are. The content will be the same as always, but there just will be little extra things as a little thank you for our channel members, that's all. And you can still show your support just by watching the videos, commenting, liking, all those things are hugely appreciated as well. So that's it from me for now. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you again really soon.